Hello my dear children, welcome back to my class. Here I am back with new video and a new chapter. In my previous class, I had taught you the first chapter, right? That is reproduction in organisms, where we learned asexual and sexual reproduction, right? Then we learned about fertilization, as well as we learned about the fusion of gametes. All these things we learned, as well as we learned how does fertilization takes place in animals and plants. Now in this chapter, we are going to learn more in details, okay, about the sexual reproduction of flowering plants. As here you can see the diagram, right? Okay, now before jumping into the chapter, okay, let me give you an outline that what we are going to learn. So in this chapter, we are going to learn about a flower, which is a reproductive part of a plant and which have different reproductive organ which produce gametes, and those gametes which takes part in fusion, right, in a fertilization. And here we will learn how these gametes are formed in plants. We will learn the detailed structure of male reproductive part and the detailed structure of female reproductive part, the female organ, right? So these are the topics which we are going to learn as we are talking about fertilization. Now, how does this fertilization takes place, which is, and by which means, by what means, how this takes, how gametes are transferred from male to female, right? So all these things we are going to cover in this chapter. Now, my dear children, before jumping into the chapter, right, first we should know the basic of the chapter, what we are dealing with. Here we are going to learn about a flower, a flowering plants, right? We are going to learn about a sexual reproduction takes place in a flowering plant. So the main you can say the main part of this flower, this chapter is a flower. So before understanding the more things about, or before understanding the structure, first we should try to understand about the flower and its different parts and how does those different parts plays an important role. All right, so let us start with flower. Now, what is flower? Flower, it is a reproductive part of a plant. Flower is a result of fertilization. All right, now this flower is divided, okay, into 4 whorls. In up to class 10th, we learn about the parts of flowers, right? Now we will say whorls. Okay, so there are 4 whorls of flower, and they are calyx, okay, this is called your calyx, which is also called a sepals, which we know as a sepals, right? A green leafy structure which is present at the below, at the base of the flower, which is called your calyx, right? And it is green in color. The second whorl is your corolla, which is called as your petal, okay, corolla. This is your, yes, here I have written corolla. Petals, these are your colored parts, okay. What does it do? It attracts insects for pollination. So in this chapter, we are going to learn what is pollination, right? Okay, so petals, corolla, okay. So the first whorl is your calyx, second is corolla. Then next, the most important whorl of the flower is stamen, and the next is your pistil, okay. Now what is pistil? So pistil, it is again divided into 3, okay, stigma, style and ovary. This 3 together is called pistil. So here there was no space, so I did not write it. So remember, the 4 whorl are your calyx, corolla, stamen and pistil. Now stamen, now let us learn about the stamen. What is stamen? Stamen is male reproductive organ, right? It is divided into 2 parts, or you can say it has 2 parts, anther and filament. Now let us see what is anther. A lobe-like structure is present in a flower. Okay, the very simple example I'll give you, okay, hibiscus flower or China rose. Just pluck one flower and you see it, okay, you will see a lobe-like structure in it. I hope that it will help you better to understand the different parts of the flower. So it would be better if you take one flower and see the different parts of the flower. So this is called your anther and this is your filament. So filament, what does this filament do? It holds this anther. Now what is the function of anther? This anther, they produce pollen grains, which is a male gamete of a flower. So they produce what? Pollen grain. As you can see, some sticky spores like structure on the flower, right? They are pollen grains and they take part in reproduction, which is called your male gamete. This is male gamete. So this is your male reproductive organ. Second is your pistil. Pistil is consist of stigma, which is this part is called your stigma. Stigma, the role of stigma is that they receive pollen grains. This pollen grain, right? So by some carrier, they will send or they will carry this pollen grain, and this pollen grain will be received by the stigma, right? All right. Second is the style. Now, what does this style do? And the third is your ovary. Okay, now the function of style is that it connect, stigma and ovary. As you can see, this part is connecting stigma and ovary, right? Inside there is a thin tube-like structure. Now, what does this tube-like structure called? This is called your pollen tube. And what does pollen tube do? It carry this pollen grain. The pollen grain which comes and received by this stigma is sent to the ovule. Okay, for fertilization, it is sent here to the ovary by the pollen tube, right? And this is your ovary, and this ovary is the female reproductive part, or you can say the pollen grain is the male gamete, right? So ovary is a female gamete, and it consists of ovule. So inside there is an ovule, and this ovule further it produces seeds after fertilization. I hope that this is clear to you about the female reproductive organ and male reproductive organ. And the another part, here you will see a small leafy structure, small structure you will see in the flower, that is called your bract. All right. And the second one, okay, this is already I told you, this is your sepals or calyx. Here you will see a flesh-like structure is present at the base of the flower. This is called your thallus. All right. And this, the long stem-like part, okay, this is called your floral axis. So in a floral axis, what it holds the flowers, where the flower arises, or you can say it supports the whole flower. All right. I hope that different parts of the flower is clear to you. So I'm going to repeat this again. Okay. So let me give you a quick revision. Flower is a reproductive part of a plant. It is a result of fertilization. Second thing, it consists of 4 whorls. They are calyx, corolla, stamen, and pistil. Okay, pistil. Calyx is your green leafy structure which is present at the base of the flower, which is also called as sepals. Corolla is the color part. It helps in attracting insect, which helps in pollination. And third one is stamen, which is a male reproductive organ, and it consists of 2 parts, anther and filament. Anther, it produces pollen grain, which is a male gamete, and filament, it supports anther. There is lobe-like structure is present, okay, and all the structure we'll learn in this chapter in details. How does they produce? Everything we will learn in details. All right. The last one is pistil, which is your female reproductive organ, and it is consist of stigma, style, and ovary. Right. Stigma, its function is that it receives pollen grain. Then style, it connect stigma and ovary. Third is ovary, it consists of ovule, and which later on after fertilization they produce, or this ovule, they hold lots of seeds. Okay, it holds seeds. All right. Then this fleshy structure is called your thallus. Small leaf is, this is again a leaf-like structure, small. It is called bract. This is called your floral axis, where all whole plants is arise. All right. So I hope that the flower, the structure of flower is clear to you. So my dear students, this is very important to know the different structure of flower, right, before proceeding or before learning the further topics. So in my next class, I'm going to start your different topics of this chapter. So till then, you learn this chapter. This will help you to understand the better which we are going to learn in this chapter. So this is all for today's class. I'll see you in my next class. Till then, keep learning, and yes, do practice this. Okay, this is very important. So I will see you in my next class. Take care. Bye bye.